Hi guys, today I'm going to talk to you about budget, low cost, hopefully affordable brushes. This is makeup brushes, not hair brushes. This is something that's been requested quite a lot, but whenever I look at my collection of brushes, it's a little bit overwhelming and I don't really know where to start. So I kind of picked out the things that I thought you would want to know about and the things that I wanted to recommend to you, and hopefully this will kind of answer some questions for those of you that wanted me to make this video. I don't really know even how to separate this out, but I'm going to kind of kick off with brushes that I would use for base. The one that I probably love the most at the moment for applying my foundation is this one. It's from Sigma, which is not super cheap, but you can buy it as an individual brush, which means you don't have to buy a super massive expensive set, and you can get them online in the UK now. Anything I can link below I will. And this is the round top kabuki, or the F82. The reason I like this one is it's really dense. It's like really packed in, so you're not going to get a tremendous amount of brush strokes. It really is a buffing kind of brush, so I really like that one if I'm going to use a brush for my foundation. Prior to rediscovering that, I was using the Real Techniques, I think this is called, yes, the buffing brush, but this has a little bit more flexibility. It's not as dense, it's not as like stiff, so you do get brush strokes, and I find that I still have to blend things in with my hands afterwards. I do like it, but it depends on the foundation as to how nice the finish will be. Another brush that I wouldn't necessarily use now, but once upon a time it was my favourite kind of brush to apply foundation with, so I thought I would mention it, especially because it's from Makeup Revolution, and this is the stippling brush. This has loads of flexibility. If you were applying something like a powder foundation, you might like this, or again, just totally down to personal preference. Don't look at any brush and think this is its sole purpose. There are so many different things you could use it for. You could use this for blush, you could use this for just whatever you wanted. Whatever you find a use for that brush for is what it's for. It's just, you know, that's why it's makeup artistry. There's some creativity involved, and you can kind of, I don't know, run wild with it a little bit, I suppose. Don't ever look at a brush and think I'll never find a use for that, because you might find a use for it that you would never have thought of. My all-time favourite method of applying foundation at the moment though is not with a brush, it's with this, and it's the Beauty Blender. I'm yet to try a different one, so I can't tell you this is worth the cost. Lots of people say the Real Techniques one is really nice, but lots of people say they don't like it. I don't know. I'm going to try some more, but I do really like the Beauty Blender for applying foundation. It's the nicest possible finish that I've managed to achieve, and I have, you know, very little skill in that area. It's just kind of what I have learned on my own face, and so as a non-makeup artist, I find this to be really easy to use and get really nice coverage. So I would recommend that or something like that. Please feel free to leave your comments and recommend kind of cheaper alternatives, but that's my kind of base. Then when it comes to powder, which I almost always have to use, given that I am quite oily skinned, which is frustrating at times, but powder, let's move on. These are the kind of brushes that I would use or would have used in the past. The one that I'm using at the moment is this powder brush from B, which is a beauty brand that you can get from Superdrug. These are quite new brushes, and they're all available as single brushes, which I really like. It's nice to be able to get a kit, that's nice. It's nice to have kind of an introduction to brushes, but I find in a lot of actual sets that you can find that you don't use a lot of the brushes. Like, for example, Makeup Revolution brushes are also individual, for those wondering, but for example, the the Real Techniques, sorry. The Real Techniques kit that I got this one in, I think this is the only brush that I actually use. I'm trying to think what other brushes came. Oh, that's not true. I have another one here with a gold handle. There's two from a brush set of maybe 4 that I use. And I wouldn't have chosen the other ones if I'd seen them. I wouldn't have had them. I would have bought these 2 individually. So I probably wasted a little bit of money there. Again, you can look at those brushes and find other uses for them. Just because I wouldn't use them for my base doesn't mean I wouldn't use them for eyeshadow and things. But really, I only bought them, I think I bought it for this. And then the other one I just discovered over time that I quite liked. But I'm not a big fan of the kits for that reason. I prefer to be able to buy brushes individually. So I really like this new range from B. I have another one that I bought individually from Real Techniques. This was my powder brush of choice, and it is quite dense, it's quite thick, or like quite a heavy kind of coverage kind of brush. But I was with my friend Laura, if you remember her, Laura Loves Beauty. She is a fair weather YouTuber. And occasionally makes videos, but I'll try and remember to link her below so you can check out her stuff. But she was with me and she said that she'd heard a lot about this, and we ended up buying them together. I really wasn't convinced because I thought this was going to give me way heavier powder coverage than I wanted, but I really like it. I don't know I don't know why, because I expected it just to be all wrong. And I know it is specifically a powder brush, but I do really like it. So I would definitely say, don't look at a brush and think you'll hate it until you've tried it, because it's one of my favourites. Next I have the powder brush from Makeup Revolution, which is much, much softer, and I've only used this a couple of times at best. It is okay, but I probably would use this more for kind of bronzer and stuff like that. It would do if you were looking for just a little bit, it's, you know, it's soft enough, it would do the job, but there's something about the other ones that I like a little bit more. But I thought I would include it because it is specifically a powder brush. And again, the finishing brush from B, something that I wouldn't necessarily reach for because I prefer that slightly denser brush now, I'm just used to it, but this is something I would have used in the past. Hands down, this would have been what I would reach for. Something that was duo fibre. I've had a lot of brushes like this from Sigma and Sedona Lace, that kind of thing, and it's identical. There's no difference at all. I've got 3 or 4 of these actually. This is just a clean one that I pulled out, but it's totally fine, and if this is the kind of light coverage, powdery finish you like, you could use this again for blush or bronzer if you wanted, then it's a nice enough brush. Moving on from base of any kind, I suppose we are still on base, we're going to talk about bronzers and blushes, etc. One of my favourite brushes that is a brush that I wouldn't necessarily have chosen, or one that I would kind of sort out, is this one, and I think it's from Crown Brushes. It just says C309 Jumbo Chisel Powder. I think I got this from IMATS. Now Crown Brushes again is something that you can buy a set, but you can buy all the brushes individually, and they do some really funky looking brushes. So if you have in mind, or if you've seen a brush on a YouTube video or on a blog or whatever, and you don't want to buy that specific one because it's really expensive or whatever the reason may be, you can probably find that exact shape from Crown Brush. They have so many different kinds of brushes that you will be overwhelmed. And this one just kind of appealed to me because it's kind of thinner in the side. I don't know if you can see that, but it's thinner in the side, but it's really thick. And I use it, I mean, it is called a Jumbo Chisel Powder, so I use it for applying bronzer, because I'm not a big contourer. Occasionally I'll get into it for a while and then decide it looks terrible on me, which it normally does, which again comes down to skill. But this is a little bit wider, and so you don't get a real defined line. I'll just kind of use the thinner tapered end and try and vaguely contour, but then you can use it in a different way as well. It's quite versatile, and this is my favourite bronzing brush. But yeah, a bit of a random one, didn't come in a kit, but they're the best brushes I find. You can put together a really nice collection of brushes that you really, really like and you're getting a lot of use out of if you collect them one at a time, rather than just buy a kit and hope that they all kind of go together. If you're kind of wanting a kit and you don't want to buy them all individually, then that's great, but I think that the ones that I love the most are the ones that I've picked out specifically for a need that I wanted filling, I suppose, in my brushes. Next I have a couple, I actually have like multiple brushes of this shape from different brands. This is the one from Makeup Revolution, and they've called it Contour, and this is the blush slash contour from B. Pretty much identical, you know, they're very, very slightly different in the way that they feel and how dense they are. I do slightly prefer the one from B, but again, if it's a price issue, it's nearly the same. And the more that you use this, I know that obviously once you've cleaned it again and everything, it's going to be quite silky, but the more that you use it, the more coarse it will become. Super, super soft at the moment, but this one already had a slight texture. The B brushes are really soft, but they just have that slight texture that's going to pick up a little bit more product, which I like, and is going to help blend. But they're both basically the same kind of brush, and that's what I prefer to apply blush with. I actually apply blush kind of to the, not to the apples of my cheeks anymore, but to the cheekbones in a kind of 80s style. I've shown you this in previous videos, and no one thinks it's too crazy, so I think I'm not the only one that does it, because no one's like, that's insane, what are you doing? But I find that it's more flattering for my face. Rather than contouring, putting blush kind of high up on the cheekbone almost contours and does the blush at the same time, and it doesn't make me look like a Russian doll. Because I have quite a round, I'm told heart-shaped, but I think that's just kind, quite a round face, and it needs some kind of something to give me a little bit of definition, but contouring can look a little bit muddy and a bit weird on me, so that's how I kind of like to do it, and these kind of brushes are perfect for that. Another brush that I really like for blush is, that's a tongue twister, is this Real Techniques one called Blush Brush. Again, one that I looked at on the shelf and thought, this is so not fit for purpose. It just doesn't look like the right kind of brush. It's round and just not, it's too big. But what I found that I really like this for is kind of shimmery mineral blushes. Things that haven't got a lot of colour, but just kind of sweep a sheen of something. So whether it be a highlight, I could use it for a highlight if I wanted to, but more those kind of sheeny, highlighty blush colours. So I will kind of go in as if I would go high on my cheekbones, the same as with the other brush, but then I'll also blend it from my cheek, and it gives a really nice kind of shape to the apple of your cheek. So if you are someone that does more of an apple of the cheek application, you might like this. And again, super soft, just absolutely beautiful to feel. Last face brush I have is the other one from that base collection from Real Techniques, and it is the contour brush, which I don't use for contour, I use for highlighting. If I highlight, then I'm just basically, it's very, very basic, highlight with this a little bit. Nothing special, but that's what I use that for. I try to keep it as clean as possible so that it's just kind of highlighting colours and not adding any weird colours. Lastly, I have a lot of eye brushes. Let's see. Quite a lot of eye brushes. I'm going to run through the ones from Makeup Revolution first of all, because I know you guys wanted to know about them. I don't know if you were watching my videos when I was talking about it, but the reason that I took so long to talk about these brushes is because on the actual brush themselves, it doesn't say what they are. On the outer packaging, they had a name. So for example, this one's called the concealer brush, and I probably could have guessed that from looking at it. And it also does have an F102, but I wanted to be able to refer to it. So if I use it in a video, or if I'm like talking about it now, then I wanted to be able to refer to what the name of the thing was and what the actual purpose claims to be. Like I say, you can use it for whatever you want, but what it was actually made for. And so I bought a label maker. It was basically just an excuse to buy a label maker. I've always wanted one, but I bought a label maker just for these brushes, so I can now run through what they all are. And if you've been seeing kind of the random stickers on them, that's what it is. So this one's called an eyeshadow brush. Now this is a perfect example of why I wanted that label maker. This is not an eyeshadow brush. This is like not an eyeshadow brush. I would use it for eyeshadow, but I wouldn't use it to lay down colour. I would use it to like define. So again, this is even more so than the B Beauty brushes, one that I would use to kind of define something or smudge something under my eyes. This is so tiny and so stiff, you couldn't apply any kind of lid colour with this. It'd take you all day. This one is concealer. This is probably, I can see that this would be a concealer brush, but I don't tend to use concealer brushes. This is something I, again, would use more for eyeshadow. Then we have a blender, which is quite short for a blending brush, but it would do. I probably would be more likely to lay down colour with this one, but it would be good for kind of blending or a slightly less intense kind of contour. And then lastly is the contour, and this is like the angled one, like the eyeshadow blender from B Beauty. It's slightly shorter, which I kind of like. I feel like that would apply a little bit more. It would lift it a little bit more colour and apply a little bit more, but there are some brushes here that I really like. Some brushes not so much. They are a little bit cookie cutter. These are brushes and brush shapes that you will have seen before, but you get that a lot with these lower cost brands. The thing with Real Techniques is that you do get some really unusual shapes. I will say that you don't get a lot of the shorter ones, and like if this wasn't called an eyeshadow brush, if this was kind of like a detailer brush or something, then that would be great. But if someone picked this up knowing absolutely nothing about makeup brushes or application or whatever else, and they picked this up and assumed that this was an eyeshadow brush, that they might be like just going out into the world looking a little bit crazy, or just really frustrated that it's not working for them the way it works for other people. So that's kind of annoying, but I do like them. And if you are looking for a few brushes to add to your collection or to build a collection of makeup brushes, these are really good value. Next, I will quickly talk about the ones that I have in front of me. I don't think these are all of them, but the ones I have in front of me from B Beauty, which are the ones I used last week. This one is the eyeshadow brush. Did we just talk about this? Or was that, oh no, that was a concealer brush, right? I don't know. I've already filmed this video once, so maybe I'm referring to a video that you haven't seen. This is the eyeshadow brush from B Beauty, and this is pretty much exactly the same, slightly longer, but it's kind of concealer-y in the way that it is. It's not something I would lay down colour with. It's a little bit stiff and flat for that. And then the eyeshadow blending brush, again, as I've mentioned previously and referred to the wrong video, is the angled kind of brush, and this is the one that I'm more likely to put down a base colour with. But I feel like both brands are missing a basic brush to actually lay down colour with, and the one that I prefer, well I have three at a push. The ones that I prefer to actually put down colour on my lid are these three. If I was putting down a sheer colour or a light colour just all over my eye, it would be this from Sedona Lace, which is 941. A real fat, fluffy brush. I can put down a lot quickly with that one. Then I have these two, which are real short and stiff, so you're going to get a lot of colour on your lids with these. And these are also really great multi-purpose ones because you could do lid colour with this, and because they're small and they're quite defined, you could do your contour as well. I have Sigma Eye Shading E55, which looks like this. And I have the, no idea what it's, I think this is called the eyeshadow brush from Real Techniques. And they would probably be my favourites for applying eye colour. Lastly, two more from Real Techniques. I would say of all the kits that you can buy from them, the eye kit is the one that I use the most brushes from. I would definitely recommend that one. This Detailer, I think it's called, this tiny little one is the one that I would use for smudging out colour or eyeliner. I use this one a lot. And then this one is a really nice one again for either putting down a big sheer amount of colour on my lid or blending. And this is the Base Shadow Brush, which I would probably agree with. So that's everything. Hopefully I've covered everything that you guys wanted to know about. These are the brushes that I would kind of recommend. I know it's a lot, but I pulled out the ones and I tried to pull out kind of a selection of brands and shapes and things like that, because what I like is not necessarily going to be what you like. You might pick out something from what I've shown you and think, oh my god, I can't believe she uses that for that. You know, different strokes for different folks and all that. We can't all like the same things, but these are the brushes that I would use. These are the ones that I would recommend for different kind of price ranges and for different kind of applications as well. So hopefully that was helpful. I will just give you a heads up, I'm not sure if it's up already. I don't know which video is going up first, but I do have a really cool giveaway going on my second channel right now, and I'm giving away a Michael Kors handbag, which arrived in the post this week and I was really excited about it. So go and check that video out if you haven't already, and if it's hopefully already up, I'll link that below, as well as much information about the brushes and things that I've mentioned as possible. So yeah, hope this was useful, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!